Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this week's episode of The Maybe Pile. I am your co-host, Mummified Thunderbirds, or Tony, as a lot of people know me as. This week, I am joined by Kay. Kay, how are you doing today?
Excellent. How about yourself?
Oh, I couldn't feel better unless I had a new pair of underwear on.
I know the feeling. But we are not alone this week.
No, and I'm super excited about who we have on this week. I am glad to announce our first guest, My Little Ties provider, creator, runner, owner of the store, Mr. Igor.
Igor, and pleasure to meet you.
Oh, damn it! I swore I wrote that down, and I totally was like, no, he said Igor. No, Igor. It was like, damn it! Fuck you, Mel Brooks.
Exactly.
Oh.
He just has a picture of an eye next to the word gore.
No, I wrote down I, and I'm like, yeah, he said I, right? No, that's just my terrible short-term memory. That's like, yeah, he said this. Oh, fuck. Oh, I feel like such an
very
ass
common thing.
Yeah. It's one of those things I like, having a name that is so synonymous with bits and jokes and sketch comedy has got to be just absolutely insane. Like, I work with 2 different Aarons, and every time I've got to like stop myself from being like, hey, Aaron, and I'm like, nope, we're in a workplace, his name is Aaron. And I'm like, hey, Aaron.
Aaron, you better
So
be
it's one of those
sick
things-
before dead.
No, I definitely get that. And I'm actually a big fan of Mel Brooks and Young Frankenstein, so I've seen it on Broadway.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, they had a limited run for a little bit, and I couldn't not go see that.
That would have been so sick to see live. I haven't had the chance to take in any like major Broadway productions or anything like that, but I've got so many friends that like go to see Wicked when it's at ASU Gamage when it comes to town. The last one, like my local crew here went off and saw the Book of Mormon when it came to ASU, and they were just like, turn it off like a light switch. It goes click.
Oh,
and
that's
like,
a fun one.
I don't know this song, guys, and you keep singing it. And they're like, don't care, we're gonna sing it anyway. And I'm like, all right,
I mean, it's worth it. I live in New York, so Broadway's right there. So I tend to go whenever I can.
Yeah. I don't blame you at all. In fact, like all like the main Broadway stuff and all the off Broadways, you know, if I ever go out and visit a good friend of mine in New York, I'm kind of half tempted to be like, hey, so is there any way that we could take in a show or something? And she'd probably be able to like point me in a direction of some sorts. But
oh, it's absolutely worth it. I mean, there's the everyday half-price tickets that are sold at Times Square, but usually if you're willing to show up and wait in line for an hour or two, you can get same-day tickets for like dirt cheap for most of the shows.
And it's weird how often that happens. Like, she told me that apparently you can, like, SNL sold out, like, months in advance. But there are, if you want to wait in line morning of, there are some, like, open seats that come up. So if you wanted to, you could you could line up Saturday morning for discount tickets to that night show. And I'm like, what? That's awesome.
Yeah. No, it's generally a thing that only locals end up doing, because if you're a tourist and you're on a schedule and this is your 3 days in New York, you're not going to waste like 4 hours of them standing in line. But if you live here, what the hell?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you can do the same thing, not just for like Broadway shows, but musical performances at the Met, opera, ballet, whatever. They all do day of tickets for like $20-$30.
Nice.
Oh my God.
So
Damn.
I end up going to see a lot of random productions.
I can't even eat for that much.
Damn it, Kay.
What? I'm hungry. I didn't eat yet.
Okay,
It is
well,
important.
then let's get into the thick of it. So, Igor, I want to like dive in for those people who aren't, you know, coming from the pony fandom and like necessarily knowing exactly who you are and what you do. Is it safe to say that you are a purveyor of fine dress materials such as ties and clips and pins and such?
Fancy pony formal wear non-pareil. Yes.
I love the fact that like there's certain vocabulary that people who have come from the pony fandom have picked up, like non-pare and just weird other words that like the rest of like the world outside the fandom might know about, but like definitely it's like, yes, I know exactly what this fine gentleman is referring to. Non-pare, of course.
Exactly. And besides, it's a fun word.
It makes you
One of
sound
those,
intelligent whenever you use it.
Exactly. Or oh my god, what is it? So I worked in a suit store for a while, and there happened to be I started slowly adapting from accoutrement to
Yes,
accoutrement,
accoutrements.
and I slowly like I can't even like say the normal way. It's just like accoutrement, and I'm like I'm just like slowly
Yep.
been like, yes.
I feel so
Fancy.
uncultured. I don't know what that means.
It just means stuff that goes along with it.
Accessories, basically. Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Company, accompaniment.
Yep.
And so like I first learned about you before the Vegas con that must not be spoken about. I first bought one of your rarity ties to go along with that event, and that was the first time obviously seeing you. Was there much to My Little Ties before that, or was that your first big showing?
Oh no, well, actually, my ties have been around since BronyCon summer 2012.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I didn't have any ties for sale at that con yet. I had my one prototype Twilight tie ready,
Mm-hmm.
and I had an ad in the booklet of that very first summer BronyCon.
Mm.
And I've been selling them since then. My first conventions were in 2013 for vending, and I've been vending at PonyCons ever since.
Right,
Amazing.
right. And I've seen your booth kind of slowly expand over the years. Like obviously, right there at the Vegas Con, I saw that you had your sort of. Wait, were you at Vegas?
I wasn't at Unicon.
Right, right. I'm sorry, I got that confused. I've it's been
That was
so long.
actually the thing is I was planning to go to Unicon,
Mhm.
but what happened is the Big Apple PonyCon was happening less than a month later or around a month later, but here in New York, so I would have no travel expenses or hotel expenses.
That's fair.
So I decided for my first live convention, I may as well go to the one that's right around the corner
Hmm.
instead of flying across the country.
And that's actually pretty smart. I know that Kay is sort of a part of a traveling band of merchants who sell a lot of anime things.
Mm.
Oh, you know it.
And the cons that they seem to be going a lot to have been the ones that are sort of based in sort of the New England, New York kind of zone. And I feel like, yeah, that's very smart. And we talked a couple episodes back, I can't remember at this point.
Episode
about,
5, I believe.
I will take your word for it. About,
So-
coming out to Phoenix and whatnot. And it'd be like, well, that might be a big thing. So obviously starting off in New York, in your local area, is a lot smarter than suddenly like taking your entire merch and flying halfway across the country for the first then.
Yeah, but that's literally what I did right after that, because after that, I think I was at almost every other con in 2013 also.
Nice.
So you just kind of took off from there, huh?
Pretty much. I saw that I liked it, and I decided to keep doing it. I've actually been to a lot of anime cons, but I've never vended at any of those.
And that's kind of unfortunate, is that there doesn't seem to be a lot of overlap in the interest at these cons. Like every once in a while, there's a couple of anime cons here in Arizona, but there is like during like the heat of it, like the thick of ponies, I wasn't seeing a lot of pony stuff here. I mean, you may get like an artist table like here and there, but really, I mean, it's pretty sparse out there.
It is. I remember back in like 2013, actually, Katsucon over in National Harbor, Maryland, had a fair amount of pony stuff then.
Really?
That was one of the few cons I saw a bunch of it at that was not a pony con. But I haven't been to Katsu in probably 4 years now. Used to go to every single one.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, Maryland's where I got my con start. That was the first con I vended with Fandom Wares. That was the first one I vended with them at. BronyCon.
Was it Katsu?
BronyCon.
Okay.
I just meant Maryland as as the area. But yeah, it was BronyCon when I first started vending with them, because I already been to BronyCon 2 years at that point, not in a row, but I think I went in 2015, and then I went again in 2017. 2017, I was a diamond sponsor, so that was a cool experience.
Oh, nice. I've never done that at a con. I don't think I'd ever have the free time to enjoy it if I'm vending.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend being a sponsor if you are planning on being a vendor. I mean, if you want to, by all means, go ahead. But I don't really see the point in it because you'd be so busy with the booth.
Yeah, that's kind of thing. Conventions do like have options for vendors to also buy sponsor tickets, but it's something I've never gotten around to because my schedule is usually just vending and then hanging out with people in the evening.
Oh yeah, because I
Same.
always see you running around afterwards or after the fact of hanging out with people like Ardale and Burned, and then
Yep.
what's the nice lady out in Seattle, or not Seattle? Was it Seattle that had those hats?
Oh, Carrie, Wingquare Productions.
Carrie, right. She was so nice. Yeah, I always
Yeah,
see
she's
like
lovely.
bunch of vendors like hanging out, running off to go hit the bars or go grab local food and whatnot. And it's amazing how in con communities there's the sort of like not click in like a negative term, but definitely groups that seem to form around their chosen craft. You know, you have your artists doing artist piles at the hotel lobby. Outside the bar at like 2 a.m. You've got the all the vendors out at dinner at like the Coco's
About an hour
and
after the
Denny's.
hall closes. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, all right, let's get the hell out of here.
No, that's generally how that works. And I mean, I am not much of an artist myself as far as drawing goes, unfortunately. So I can just appreciate the art, but I don't go to the art like trades and people drawing stuff. It's just really fun to watch.
Yeah, I can agree with you there. I am a terrible artist. That's why I hire them.
Yes, that's basically what I do too. But there a lot of them are good friends of mine, and they're generally wonderful people too.
Awesome.
For my art is photography and videography stuff. I cannot draw for my life.
Capture the moment, my friend. Capture the moment.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun, and it's its own skill set, but not quite the same.
Yeah.
And I don't usually get to bring my proper gear to conventions.
Right.
Yeah, and that's really interesting because, like, you mentioned the fact that you like photography and video, but yet I've never seen that side of your interest because as much as I love being like, yeah, I know my little ties, I know I've seen you around. I'll walk up and be like, hey man, how are you? And like, I'm pretty sure you recognize me, or maybe you're just being
absolutely.
nice.
No, absolutely do.
But it's unfortunate that like I only get to see your vendor side of your life. I had no idea that you like taking pictures and going on videoing stuff.
Oh yeah, no, I'm actually a professional photographer, videographer. Although I only have like one IMDb credit as a cinematographer for an indie horror flick, but that was a lot of fun to work on.
Yes, the second you were like, "Oh, I've got one credit," I'm like, "Please be horror, please be horror."
Of course, it's gonna be horror. Cheap indie horror is the most fun thing to work on, I think.
It sounds so fun. I wanted to write a indie horror film at some point, but unfortunately, I stopped like before the script even started. I was like, I cannot get a good concept in mind to save my ass.
Yeah, this one was pretty high concept as far as that goes.
Nice.
Yeah. Do we get a brief summation of what the plot was?
We see how concise I can be. Basically, a guy wakes up in a college, mostly naked, tries to figure out what the hell happened, goes through like multiple people's scenarios, which end up with them dying, and in the end turns out he's the devil.
I love it.
It was fun. I did the cinematography, so I had a blast with that one.
Amazing.
Jeez Louise.
Amazing.
I was about to say, I'm like, oh, okay, so kind of like a happy death day, and then something, and I'm like trying to like, well, maybe it's sort of, and then nope, he's a devil, and I'm like, what?
It's like the whole point of the devil in this concept is that he's cursed to go through other people's hells, but he doesn't remember he's a devil until they all die.
Okay.
And everyone creates their own hell, which just forces them to relive a thing which ends up killing them. And he can't save anyone. So he's more the sympathetic character in this one. But yeah, lots of gory deaths.
Okay. All right.
Nice.
Busting out the Campbell's tomato soup for this, I bet.
Oh no, they had very nice mixed corn syrup.
Oh man, I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, mostly I do photography. The cinematography, videography stuff is more like 1 to 3 jobs a year for something major.
Cool.
Gives me something to do.
Oh.
Lets me do something with the equipment I already have lying around anyway.
Most definitely.
It's very.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Kay. I apologize.
Oh, you're fine, dude. I just wanted to, before we went any further, I just wanted to tell you, Tony, that I got like some very exciting news in my personal life. My my uncle, who has a few extra dollars to spend, has offered me a all expenses paid vacation to Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas this October.
Oh.
So you can expect
fancy schmancy.
you can expect many pictures and maybe a little bit of a vlog type of thing. I don't know. I don't really know how to vlog, so mostly expect lots of pictures like it was in New York. I just wanted to say that because I am ecstatic.
Oh, I'm happy for you, and I'm happy for the show. We'll be able to knock out 30 minutes of content talking about your vacation after you're done.
You know it. Hopefully he does let us stay in Caesar's Palace. I know he's like eyeing up the quote unquote luxury hotels, so I hope he chooses Caesar's.
I mean, you can't go wrong on the Strip in general. Vegas is an interesting experience.
Yeah.
Very.
Yeah, it's gonna be my first time, so I'm excited even more.
Oh, nice. I remember not dialing back too much, but at Unicon, that was my first, over 21 visit to Vegas as well. And I can tell I was like super excited to go because it's like, yes, it's time to go to Vegas. Ooh, like kind of moment. I think I was like 22 at the time or something like that. I can't remember. But I remember I was actually quite happy about this, is the fact that my first time being at Vegas, I sat down at a blackjack table with $20, walked with 85, came back later with another $20 that I just decided, hey, I'll put that in the bank. Then I went back and got $20 more, and then I sat back down, walked away with 40, and I'm like, good enough.
Yeah,
Nice.
I am nothing but up in Vegas.
that's the main thing in Vegas, is to know when to stop.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's the only way you can win.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a lot of fun stuff to do there outside of the gambling. But yeah, it's a
Oh,
city
for
I've
sure.
been to a couple of times.
Yeah, I know Igor, me and you were talking before we hit record, and I'm definitely looking forward to going to see Penn and Teller if I have the opportunity.
Oh, my
Absolutely. That's one of the ones that you pretty much have to see live at least once.
Right.
God. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I would love to see Penn and Teller, and apparently I'm some type of naturally gifted card player, so I can't wait to sit down at the tables and try my luck. Needless to say, I take all of my friends' money, and I hopefully I can take some casino money as well. We'll see.
Yeah, best of luck on that. It's a fun thing to try and do.
Well, my friends won't play poker with me anymore, so hopefully the dealers will.
They're just like, I don't want to play poker with you either. Get out of here.
Let's just say I always have an ace up my sleeve. No, I'm just joking. I don't cheat.
Jeez Louise. So, Igor, I don't know if you've seen the show or not, but what we like to pretty much talk about here is other sort of media and other things that we have seen or experienced over the past a week or two, or however long it takes me to edit out an episode.
Okay.
So, what are some of your hobbies that entail outside? I know we talked a little bit about your film and photography, but like those are more like side hustles that I feel like you're going after. What is one of your hobbies that you like to do that's really not about gain or anything? It's just like, no, this is hobby. This is me. I'm just gonna do this when I get home at night.
No, see, that's actually part of my problem, is that I turn most of my hobbies into jobs of one sort or another.
Welcome to 2020.
I wish I could do
Like,
that.
I mean, I'm a huge anime fan, but I also run an anime website.
Oh yeah.
And that's why I was going to anime conventions for a while. Because it was business. I could write it off, and I still make some money from the anime website as well, which isn't bad.
I'm not gonna lie. From my previous podcast, EuroC Sucks, I totally was like, yes, EuroC Sucks. Travel and hotel is a business expense
Yep.
for
No,
the
that's
podcast.
absolutely, that's how you do it.
Yeah.
And I love to travel, and that's one of the main reasons I do conventions. I'm going to Amsterdam at the end of this month. I just got back from Japan, actually. Spent all of January there.
Land of the Rising Sun.
Yeah, no, it's always a great trip. I've gone there a bunch of times, take a ton of photos every single time. I do watch movies regularly too, so
hmm
I try to keep up with that sort of thing as much as I can.
Well, I'm kind of interested in this anime website that you run. What? Don't worry about plugging it. Like, let me know what it is, man.
Well, I mean, if you've ever looked up lyrics for an anime song, you've probably been to animelyrics.com,
Holy shit! No way.
and that one's mine.
Oh, dude, I'm pretty sure that like have I been? I gotta look at it real quick, and if I see it, yes, I have. I've totally used this.
It's one of the largest anime lyric repositories online for a reason.
Holy shit!
Check it out.
So
That's
one's
really
mine.
crazy, man. I like.
Yeah, in fact, I even have a My Little Ties link at the very bottom of it, along with my photography website too.
I absolutely love it.
Link in description
That's
for
so cool.
our listeners.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I'll even put it in like the iCard thing up in the top right corner and whatnot. Totally check
Yeah,
if you,
well, that's
check
all
it out,
good.
guys.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We can do the iCard thing now. I forgot about that.
I think so. I don't know.
I don't pay attention.
YouTube magic.
Yeah. But no, I've been running anime sites for ages. That one still gets a decent amount of traffic, something like 20,000 uniques daily, give or
Ooh.
take.
Nice.
It's a hobby, but it also means that watching anime is part of my job.
So you get to write off a Crunchyroll subscription?
No, but
Oh.
I mean, you could
I
probably
could.
try.
I could. I mean, if I could write off a Crunchyroll subscription if I really wanted to, yes. But also, like, any anime merch I buy is market research.
Nice.
Oh.
You, my
So,
friend, are
that's a-
clearly living your best life, and I have massive amounts of respect for you for that.
It's fun, but again, I do end up turning most of my hobbies into work because I don't have a 9 to 5 job. I only freelance with several different things.
Oh yeah. So that means you got to be constantly doing something, or else you just
Yeah.
don't pay the bills.
Exactly. Like, I've got the conventions where I do the pony merch, which is a lot of fun, and I want to keep doing that for as long as I can.
Mhm.
I'll probably transition to doing more Comic Cons or similar. I don't know about anime ones, but I'll
Mhm.
definitely have anime merch.
Anime cons are fun. For speaking from a vendor's perspective, anime cons are very fun to vend at, especially the larger ones. I can't really say much of a difference between that and pony cons, except that they're on a much larger scale, depending on where you go.
Yeah, but I think because I make most of my stuff, it'd have to be Artist Alley, not Vendor Hall. Because Vendor Hall at an anime con is usually just stuff from Japan that you're reselling.
Right.
Fair.
Yeah, we sold. That's exactly what we sold at Fandom Wares.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we had. We just blankets, figurines, beach towels, which unfortunately didn't sell because they were out of season because it was fucking cold.
Yep.
But
no, it's just when you go to Japan every couple of years, you start seeing all of that stuff there, and yeah, so it's fun.
it's great. That is awesome to hear.
So you mentioned that you sort of have to watch anime part of your website job. What are you
Kinda.
currently going through? What are you watching or just finished watching?
Well, I mean, this season, I think I'm keeping up with maybe 3 shows right now.
As it like debuts and runs in Japan.
Like, ones that are currently running in Japan. Yeah, like last
Nice.
season I was also watching like 3 or 4 shows. It
Mhm.
varies. Sometimes I'll just catch up on one of them at the end. Azokan this season is really, really a lot of fun. It's about 3 high school girls making an anime
Mhm.
in a, like, cinema appreciation club, Azokan. Really imaginative, really wonderful animation. Very highly recommend that one.
Mhm.
Also watching Jubaku Shonen Hanako-kun.
Mhm.
That's about a school ghost in Japanese legend thing that every school has like 7 mysteries. One of them is a ghost in a girl's bathroom called Hanako.
Mhm.
Except this ghost Hanako is a boy. It's very stylized. It has a fun sense of humor. The main characters play with each other really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
Kyoko Surui is another show going on this season. That's a interesting one. Basically, a girl gave up her one eye and her leg, and she's kind of the arbiter for ghosts and spirits, and they come to her with problems.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting. And then a very dumb show called Murusenai Seton Gakuen. But it's funny, so I'm watching it.
Very dumb show. I like that.
I think the last time I caught up, I was like following along with something as it was coming out week by week in Japan was Banankoku Chikibuyu Love, or High School Earth Boy Defense Love, whatever. It was the show about like the high school, or like pretty much Sailor Moon, like the whole magical girl thing, but if it was boys.
Guys, yep,
Yeah.
I think I've seen that one. No, the reason I call Muranase Seton Gakuen a dumb show is that it kind of is, basically. So, it's a school for mostly animals, by which I mean, so they split it where the boys of any given animal species look literally like that animal, like it's a donkey that's standing up in a school uniform.
Okay.
But the girls of the same species are human girls with donkey ears and tails.
Of course it is.
Naturally.
And that continues to like whales and hyenas and wolves and so
What
on.
the hell would a whale girl look like?
She would look like a normal girl, but the boy would be a literal whale in a school uniform.
Yeah, but like, what whale features would a girl have? What, like a massive tail?
I'm actually not sure. We've seen several like girls who are clearly aquatic animals, but I don't think we focused on one yet.
Okay.
But the opening sequence has like a literal whale in a school uniform. And all the teachers are dinosaurs.
It sounds like some type of really weird, like, Japanese Lego commercial or something.
It's a comedy with, like, a wolf who wants to form a pack of multiple animals, including the only two human characters in the school, a boy and a girl.
Alright. Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's amusing. One of the people in their pack or club is a sloth who dies constantly.
Okay.
I don't know where to take that.
It would like when she's doing stuff, they'll go, and when a sloth gets overexcited, they can overheat and die. And the narrator says this, and the character just falls over sideways. It's a very dumb show.
I love it. You know, and it can't all just be like high drama, high concept, high whatever art.
No,
art,
actually,
whatever.
the couple of high drama, high concept shows this season that I tried, I couldn't keep up with. Things like Darwin's Game or ID Invaded that I gave like a good 4 episodes to, and they just couldn't hold my interest.
Right.
I usually try to create the high concept stuff. I find myself being terrible at comedy, but I love experiencing it. I love watching it. Needless to say, Monster Musume is one of my favorite animes to this day.
Oh yeah, I've seen that one. That one's fairly
I
amusing.
love it.
It definitely has some interesting characters.
I adore it in more ways than one.
I remember reading the manga like years ago. And I was just like, oh yeah, cool, great, whatever. And then like the anime came out, and it was essentially like I already had read so much of the manga so many times that like by the time the anime came around, I was like, I'm over it.
Yeah, I remember when that was coming out, there was also the Interview with Monster Girls anime around the same time as well, which was a very different show. More lighthearted comedy than romantic comedy.
Right.
Yeah, there's just way too much anime. I think last season had 7 isekais going on at the same time.
There wasn't a buddy of mine at work was telling me about Isekai
Quartet.
Yeah. And was that last season or was that a season before?
I mean, that's still ongoing, I think. It's just continuing.
Okay.
It's not what I'm following, but I've seen most of the shows in it.
he was explaining it to me, and I'm like, isekai. And he's like, oh yeah, the whole been transported to another world, and I'm like, oh,
Oh, that's what you call that.
yeah, that's
Yep.
like
That's the whole. This show's about a random Japanese person transported into a fantasy world and go. The genre can be a little overdone, so I mostly stick to shows that do something interesting with it.
right.
Definitely.
And I think last season had 2 that I enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
Because one was actually interesting and one was a comedy that I found funny. The several serious ones were okay. Unfortunately, I think I've seen almost every other isekai out there at this point. And I can only recommend a few of them.
It's weird. It's like, I feel like that genre for Japan has also become sort of like America's like version of, or sort of on equal footing as America is with its young, I don't know, like teen rising up to overthrow the oppressive government, sort of your Hunger Games, Divergent, all these other weird things. It's almost on the same footing.
It's very similar. I mean, the main thing that it does is it makes it really, really easy to, A, you emphasize with the character because he's a regular Japanese otaku just like you are. And B is he gets to learn about the world at the same time you are, so you don't have to worry about doing any like actual setup or work about explaining what the scenario is. No, he has to learn it, so you have to learn it with him.
This thing? What's that? You've never heard of this? Huh.
Exactly.
Well, it's this thing. And it's like, all right, great. This is our way of like quick, easy exposition dumping. Like, this is the world and this is how we all live in it.
Yeah, so it's a quick shortcut, and it usually ends up being a power fantasy, like something dumb in another world with my smartphone or something, where the main character is just absurdly overpowered and has all the luck and doesn't have to actually work. There's never really a struggle because the main character is more powerful than literally everyone around them.
I lose interest in those so fast.
That's the thing. So out of the isekais that I've watched, there's only been a few that I've really enjoyed. Konosuba, of course, which is a comedy.
Still gotta see that one.
That one I highly recommend. A really fun quartet of people. Kazuma is kind of worthless, but that's the whole point of it.
Alright.
Let's see. I did enjoy Reincarnated as a Slime, because that one's mostly about the main character building a town. And it's really more about the politics of him building the town than anything else.
You know what's so weird about that? Like, right when everybody was into Reincarnated as a Slime, I was reading, what was it?
I've been killing slimes for 300 years.
Slimes for 300 years, and now I've maxed out my
level.
Yeah, it was at the exact same time. I was like, what?
Yep. And that's so not weird. The only slime-related one, I think, but the Reincarnated as a Slime one I'm enjoying. Let me just think. Ray Zero is actually being re-aired this season with extra footage in every episode because it's getting a second season in the fall.
That's the one with the twin maids, right?
That's the one with the twin maids. With the main thing is like the main character doesn't really have any OP powers, except that when he dies, he gets respawned to an earlier save point, but he doesn't know what sets the points, so he's never sure like if he's moved far enough along in the story for the next one.
That would be terrifying.
And he always remembers the brutal deaths, so it kind of breaks him about halfway through the show. So that's an interesting enough twist. I'm like, where you have a reason for watching the show. There's more to it than it's a super powered guy in a fantasy world.
And that's really what, like, you're hit on the head there. Like, it, I was watching, I don't know, like one of these abridged things of it to be like, apples for sale. It's like, what? How did I get back to this place? And it was just like them even mocking the show, so to speak, as, you know, abridged people do. But still, like, it was like, whoa, this is actually something a little bit different. Maybe I'll check it out. And I just added to my list and I never got to it.
Yeah. No, that's actually then from Ray Zero, the apples thing, or apples, however the guy actually calls it. So like last season actually was one of my favorite isekais type shows so far, which was Ascendance of a Bookworm. and that had one 14-episode season in the fall, and it's actually coming back in the spring for a 12-episode season, I think. Where the main thing about this is the main character was like a early 20s Japanese woman who graduated college to be a librarian and is crushed to death by books.
Yep.
She's reincarnated in this fantasy world, in a medieval world, as like a 6-year-old daughter of a city guard and a seamstress. Like, they can't really read. There's no books. There's no printing press. There's parchment, and ink costs more than like a month's wages. And she's like a weak girl trying to create books because she wants to read. And more stuff happens, but like that's an interesting concept. There's a struggle. The characters are well done. And it's a show where you want to watch and root for the main character. So
I'm looking it up right now, and I gotta say, like, just from what I'm seeing of this, it looks incredibly cute. I mean, like,
it is. It's incredibly cute, but it's also like a really deep story. I've been reading the light novel for it too now. And yeah, that was one of the shows that I really enjoyed that does something different with the trope. It doesn't have any of the usual bits to it. The main character isn't immediately adopted by the prince or king or whatever, and it doesn't have like superpowers, and isn't out adventuring. So that's one I definitely recommend. The other isekai I watched last season was a much sillier one called Didn't I Say to Make My Abilities Average in the Next Life? Because that's how these shows are named.
Yeah.
Of course it is. Is it wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon? A dirty, boring world in which the concept of dirty jokes don't exist. Like,
Yes,
well, okay,
sure,
is
no,
it
that's
wrong
true.
to pick up girls in a dungeon is actually really, really good and not an isekai at all.
and that's the thing. I was like, it follows the same sort of like tropes and whatnot that
Right.
Isekai does, but
It's a video
not.
game based fantasy world, but it's not an isekai. It's just what it is.
Yeah, he was born there. He's lived there. He's done everything. I actually just finished season 1 last week, and I was like, great, okay, yeah, let's keep going. And then
And
I got
season 2's
distracted
out
with something
already.
else. Yeah, I got distracted, and I haven't quite started it on Hulu or Netflix yet. Well, no, it's not on Netflix. It's on Hulu.
It's on something, but yeah, Danmachi is good. That's a nice show that's also light novel based, but manages to not be an isekai.
Mm-hmm.
And is yes.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, like I said, I watch anime partially for a living. It's the thing I tend to keep up with.
Because it's always interesting to talk to people who are so deep into a certain thing. Obviously, as you just said, you have to do this. You have to watch anime for your job. It's your living, so to speak. And it's interesting to be able to like dive into people like that. A lot of people I interact with, just on like the casual whatever, they just sort of do it because it's whatever. Whenever you get a chance to talk to someone who it has to. They're invested in it not because they're interested in the topic, but because it's actually financially part of their life.
Right, but I'm also, of course,
to
interested in it too. I wouldn't do
course.
it for long if I wasn't. But I'm not one of the people who has like a video show where I expound on these things. It's just media that I consume and keep up with.
Mm-hmm. Of course. I mean, like I used to do a show with a guy named Medi Bobo who has gone on to do his own anime reviewing thing that he does, and I'm quite proud of him. He's able to go off and do his own thing, but like it gets to a point that sometimes with people it gets to be too much. But like the way that you're explaining it and talking about all these different topics and just being able to follow along, and it's like I feel like I can if I was to try to do essentially what you just did, my rambles and rants get a little bit too long-winded and sort of like too passionate, while you're able to explain the things that your interests of anime and whatnot and all the things that you've talked about in a very clear and concise manner without being like, and you know what, because and then they do this thing where it's just the absolute worst thing ever, and it's like I fall in that trope too much, and it's great to hear you talk about these sort of things, and I'm just like, yeah, during the edit I'm going to be putting up pictures of literally everything you talk about, and I'm going to be like, I want to learn about this, I want to learn about that, I want to learn about this, and just go through your list and just dive in nonstop.
Well, thank you. No, it's a lot of fun to talk about it. I talk about it with friends on a regular basis, but yeah, it's just the thing because I end up watching so much stuff that it all just stays there.
Yeah.
And at this point, it feels like isekai's taken over a large part of the genre. But it can be good. It doesn't have to be bad.
Oh yeah.
It's often mediocre, which is really sad because sometimes they have a fun. Like the best thing about some of the isekais really is the title in the first episode, and then you're like, well, I know where this is going from here. I don't need to watch any more of this.
Right.
Yeah,
and that's sad sometimes.
Oh yeah, sorry. I think that if a creator creates an isekai, I think they're gonna have to stay away from like all the tropes and stuff like that. I think if you stay away from all the tropes and all the cliches, and if you just make your own unique concept or own unique world, own unique characters, if you do something like that, you should be able to stand out in the crowd.
I mean, people definitely try. I think one that broke out of the bunch recently was Rising of a Shield Hero.
Yeah, that has been sweeping my Twitter feed.
And my thing with it basically is that the first arc is really well done and really stands out. Like the main character is summoned into a fantasy world, but he's one of 4 summoned characters. And the other 3 are from other Japans, like they were from parallel Japans.
Oh, okay.
And each one of them gets a weapon. Like there's a sword hero, he's the shield hero, there's a spear hero, and a bow hero. And
is there a shovel hero?
No, just those, but he's literally the worst. Like, in every other world, this
hero.
World exists as a game or a something. And the guy with the shield is the worst character, always completely worthless, can't do any damage. You kind of just cart him around for no apparent reason. He gets falsely accused of rape in the first episode.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yep, that's the big hook in that one. And the thing is, like, that arc is really nice. It's very well done. But once that arc finishes, the other characters are still kind of awful. No one really learns anything, and it's just in a holding pattern where they do dumb things, he has to fix their problems, they do dumb things. And it's kind of stuck in a rut. Hopefully the anime will do something better about that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one of the reasons I stopped following that show after the first major arc finished, is that it kind of kept spinning its wheels. So yeah, I watch a lot of anime.
Yeah, by all means. I think something that would keep an audience coming back is if you have like really good characters and you want to see those characters in whatever situation.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you follow shows for one of 2 reasons, generally, either story or character. Mm-hmm. It's very hard for a show to really do both very, very compellingly, so you usually settle for one or the other.
Right.
Like, My Little Pony, for example, is very much character-driven. The stories are there, and they're fun, but you watch it for the characters. You can literally have an episode where you lock, like, if you lock Pinkie Pie and Rarity in a room for a day, that's an episode.
Yeah.
It'd be a fun episode, because you can already picture the interactions, because you know what these characters are like.
That's what I was. That's what I was taught by my mentors when I was learning how to write and stuff like that. They told me they very much told me and taught me character drive. That's the way it should be, because literally what you just said, you basically took the words right out of my mouth. Because if you have 2 characters and if you can just sit them down in a room and make a watchable 20 or 30 minutes out of it, you know that you have something good.
And it's doable, but not every show can pull it off. Not everyone can pull it off.
No. It's very difficult to do, and I think the characters have to have like genuine effort put behind them if you want to create something like that.
Yeah, and it's worth doing. But on the other hand, you can also have a show that's just much more story-driven, where you're really following it to see where the story goes. And the characters are nice, but they're not the main thing. Right. Then the characters can be much more just like standing archetypes. You have the hero, you have the monk, you have like the wise man, and so on.
Right. Also, I'm pretty sure that's the plot of most harem animes.
Yeah, pretty much. We actually have not had a proper harem in like a while, like a classic style harem, like Ron my half Tenchi Muyo type stuff.
Right.
Tenchi.
Generally, I avoid harems. I find them to be kind of boring.
Well, that's because you've seen them all before, I think.
Yeah, well, yeah, you've seen one, you've seen them all.
Yeah, like the two that like Tenchi Muyo Ranma half were a lot of fun. Ranma was just a martial arts style comedy that happened to be a harem, but everyone was just fighting everyone. Tenchi had other stuff going on too.
Yeah, like a whole space trauma thing, and he's a swords person that's going to save Ayaka's clan destiny thing, and there were space cops, and it's like, what the hell?
And they added Mihoshi for the TV series and the movies, and then she became a canon character too. No, it was classic anime.
Oh, classic anime.
I mean, pretty much. I've been watching anime since the 90s, so...
Nice. Way back in the day before I was even born.
Ugh, that's right. I forget how young you are.
Gen Z.
Oh, God.
No, actually, it's really amusing because back when I used to work at a fairly large bank in the late 90s, early 2000s, one of the things would be like after I finished work, I'd go to this video store that sold bootleg anime copies on fan subs, because that's how it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, buddy.
But what I would do is I would actually make covers for them for like the DBZ fan subs in Photoshop, because I knew Photoshop at the time. And in exchange, I'd get like 3 or 4 tapes.
Huh.
So that was a lot of fun.
Nice. I didn't know Photoshop was that old.
Oh, God, yeah. No, that was back Photoshop 4. Not CS4. 4. One undo level.
God.
No history.
God, that's so good. That's so retro. I love it. Oof.
Oh, God, it was awful.
Oh, I believe it. It hasn't progressed much since.
Sadly, no.
Yeah, but I still use it, so what can you say?
It's because there's no alternative.
Consistent. There's programs that work, but as a photographer, not really.
Right.
Yeah. What are you going to do? Use Light Studio? Oh, guess what? That's still Adobe.
Well, I use Lightroom a lot, actually. Lightroom's amazing.
Yeah.
But it's good because I have 250,000 photos I need to keep track of.
Ooh.
Yeah. It adds up.
That hurt.
I have like 10,000 saved on my phone, but that's all.
No, like I've had weddings where I would have taken like close to 10,000 photos in that like 2-day period.
Yeah.
Yup. That's how it is.
Remind me never to get into the photography business.
Well, it's the cameras and lenses that'll kill you.
Right.
Oh, the price of glass, I hear, is just absolutely ridiculous.
Oh, that it is. I mean, I actually
wait. Okay, so like you live in New York.
Yep.
Have you made the pilgrimage to the holy Mecca of photography?
Which one?
B&H Photo.
Oh, of course.
Oh, I'm so jelly.
No, I go to B&H all the time.
I call it a holy pilgrimage of photography because obviously being a West Coast guy, like
B&H is...
the idea of going to New York and going to B&H Photo, I'm just like, oh.
Oh no, it's amazing. I get a lot of my stuff there. No, it's literally like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory for photographers. Like you buy something and it goes into this basket which goes overhead and then goes down the spiral thing and it meets you after you buy your stuff. It's kind of amazing.
It's so cool. That's right. It's sad that like I have so many places that I want to go just to shop. Like I want to go to B&H Photo. I want to eventually make it out to a Micro Center PC store. I want to eventually like go to all these different places. I was kicking myself because when I was living in Seattle back in 2018, when I was living out in Seattle back in 2018, I was kicking myself that I never went to the Amazon self like checkout store where like they didn't have registers, they didn't have.
Oh yeah, they have those in New York now. I've been to that one. It's interesting.
I want to go so bad. Like ever since Linus Tech Tips did a video on it, I'm like, I want to try that out. I want to see what's going on with that.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like you go in, scan a barcode, and then just take whatever you want off the shelf, and you leave. And Amazon bills you because they know what you took.
Oh my god. Oh,
It's
it's so cool. I want to do that.
It's an interesting experience. I think there's like 3 or 4 of them in New York. I've been to 2 different ones now.
Shopping is really fun.
Oh yeah,
I love it.
but no, B&H is great.
Shopping.
Don't buy as many lenses there because lenses are expensive. I usually get secondhand lenses on like Craigslist.
Yeah.
Yeah, my animator from the UK, he keeps buying new cameras and new lenses. Which Lucas, if you're listening, keep the budget in mind, please. Or
No,
I'm
the
paying,
nice
I'm
thing for
paying
me
him,
is
but just
yeah.
fucking just stop buying them, please. You're killing yourself.
Yeah.
PSA.
No,
aside,
the
because-
thing is, I've got a lot of my actual, like a lot of the actual lenses I need, I have.
Mhm.
So it's more like there's 2 lenses that I want. One of them I can justify now. One I'll have to wait for later.
you sound just like him.
That's literally how that works. No, there's a
What do
couple
you-
of lenses I want to have for fun,
Uh-huh.
but I can't justify the cost of them.
Right.
What are you shooting on mostly?
Canon.
Nice.
Right, I've got a 5D Mark III and a Canon R now as my main cameras, and then I have a Canon M5 mirrorless little body as a backup.
Canon, otherwise known as the only camera brand in the world.
Pretty much.
I
What are
mean,
you
they
gonna
do
do?
really good work. I have a lot of friends who shoot Sony and Nikon as well. It's just I've been shooting Canon since 06, 05.
Ooh.
So kind of used to how it works. Have all the lenses built up. Can't really justify switching. And they take
No.
very good photos.
And that's the
Hey,
thing,
by all
like
means.
that's what I've been led to understand with the photography business is that once someone like picks a particular brand, they sort of like are stuck in that ecosphere of those products. Like you'll never see someone be like, I'm just gonna dump all my Canon stuff and go over to Nikon or something like that. It's like, no, they buy the camera, they're buying all the Canon lenses to have Canon cameras, and they're doing this, and they just
Yep.
stick with it because that's, hey, what are you gonna do? Go to a different thing that doesn't work with all these other parts? No.
That's kind of the problem. Although I know a lot of people ended up switching to Sony for videography for a bit because they could use all of their Canon glass with an adapter.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not bad, but for myself, since I'm more of a still shooter in general, I stuck around, and it's been working fine for me. And again, I just know how Canon colors work. I can look at a scene and be like, I know what this looks like. If I'm shooting a Sony camera, the colors are different, the yellows aren't what I'm expecting, the greens are weird. I'm not used to it.
Normally, I would say something about like brand loyalty, but it seems like it's nothing short of just out of convenience.
Kind of. Well, the thing is, back in the film day, you would pick the film that gets you the color and exposure you want. So you knew, like, Kodak film gives you these colors, Fujifilm gives you these colors.
Right.
And then you can use that film with any body and any lens, and you'd still get very similar results. But these days, it's the sensor and processor that do that, and they're different for every company.
Right.
So once you've been using one brand long enough, you kind of really get used to the output you expect from it.
Well, it makes perfect sense. You know, I totally understand. I totally get it. It makes sense.
And yeah, it gets really hard to switch, and I'm really invested in the ecosystem. I have an insane amount in glass right now. And I still want more.
Oh, it never ends. It's the adage, long running joke. It's like, okay, as a photographer, the number of lenses that you can have is all, or the maximum number of lenses you should own
It's
is
N
always
plus
your
one.
current plus
It's-
one.
It's N plus one, yes.
N plus one.
No, it's like,
Uh.
I actually just bought a lens before my Japan trip that's
Yeah.
I really like, but now I realize that, oh, I really like this range. I should have bought the more expensive lens in this range.
Mm.
And yeah, can't escape that.
Jeez Louise.
But I highly recommend photography. It's a fun hobby. Just gets expensive.
Oh, for sure. Like there was a time where I was like mad deep into what's his name? what's his name? The Canadian guy. He's friends with Casey Neistat.
Mm.
I can't remember who it is, but I used to watch this camera sort of photography dude on YouTube, and he would be talking about like how to do this, how to do that, how to video this, how to do this, and I was like, yeah. And then I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna buy a secondhand this, and I'm gonna get this lens, and I'm like, no.
Well,
no,
I mean,
I'm not gonna do that.
you can start really well with like just an APS-C DSLR, get a used one for just like $200-300, buy 2 more lenses for about the same amount, and you're fine, and you can take really good photos. But then you start seeing the limitations of the system. You start seeing like, oh, if I had this lens, this is what I could do. This one would let me do this, and it kind of snowballs from there. Because that's how that works, is that you start seeing like what each piece of gear will actually let you do. And then you need more of it.
Peter McKinnon was the name.
Okay.
I just remember I had to do a quick Google search, and I'm just like, this is gonna eat me the entire time. I'm gonna be like, who is it? Peter McKinnon. I used to be really like jazzed up by like his energy and passion for the medium, and I was like, yeah. But yeah.
Nice.
Oh, it's so much fun. Yeah, I mostly just dump photos on my site when I'm not actually doing work for it, but still, it's fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
So other than photography, other than anime, other than anything else, like what else have you been up to or have taken in? Have you seen any movies? Are you big?
Well, I just saw the Sonic movie.
Yeah,
I just saw Sonic.
Nice. What was your take on it? I don't want to mention my take because I definitely would want to talk about it as well. But what were your thoughts on it?
It wasn't awful. It had some fun moments that I enjoyed. I was very pleasantly surprised they didn't have a third act breakup between the two main characters. That seems to be mandatory for every buddy movie of the last decade.
Oh my god, right?
Because I'm at the point where like you start waiting for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Every romantic comedy, every buddy movie, everything is be like, what? This arbitrary thing that means absolutely nothing between our friendship? You've been keeping it from me? This is completely and totally shaking my entire foundation of how we've...
I don't want to talk to you anymore. And then we need to like lose faith for a while and stuff. And somehow they managed not to do that?
Nice.
I was really surprised they didn't do that with after the car accident. Be like, why would you want to leave? What you call it? That's your home. I was really like expecting that to be like, no, you just don't get it. And I was sitting there thinking, I'm like, is this the breakup? This is a really dumb reason for a breakup.
And
but
then
I'm
it
like,
wasn't. No. Well, I also
Thank
kind of
God.
figured it might be because he'd find out that Sonic's been spying on him for like the last decade.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they somehow just avoided that entirely, so I appreciate that.
Thank God.
It had a decent amount of jokes that actually landed for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, Jim Carrey was probably given all the free scenery he could chew, but he did a great job of that.
Yeah, I from my perspective, I kind of had a feeling that's like, okay, this is going to be a kids movie. I'm going to go in, and there's going to be a couple of things that are very much aimed at kids for kids to think are funny. But if you go in thinking that it's like it's going to be a kids movie, and you're not thinking that it's going to be for the fans. It's going to be for us, the people that grew up with. No, fuck off.
Yeah.
It will never, ever, ever be that.
It's a nice, simple, straightforward kids movie. It knows that's what it is. And it's actually not bad at it. And honestly, I might rewatch this movie before I rewatch Detective Pikachu.
Oh yeah,
you know what? Now that you mention it, that's very fair.
But my main reason for that, though, is that like Detective Pikachu, the world was amazing. The Pokemon were really well done. Like you could feel this world. But I couldn't stand any of the human characters for more than like a minute.
No.
Not just the main two kids, like even Bill Nye. Everyone in it was just so annoying to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
So while I liked the world, I liked most of the Pokemon stuff, I really couldn't stand most of the random drama things in between that. So, like, if Pikachu wasn't on screen talking or something wasn't happening, I was completely out of the movie.
Yeah.
And while this one has a much lower baseline, it managed to consistently stay there.
If it works,
For
it
sure,
works.
spot on with that.
Yeah, so that's probably my take on that. I'm gonna see if I can go watch Birds of Prey this week also.
You know,
Been hearing mixed
I
things
didn't have a
about
problem
that.
with Birds of Prey. You know, people were talking about the fact that it's quote unquote bombing at the box office, and I'm like, well, that's not necessarily because it's bad either.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
because DC's done some really poor choices in how they've marketed and made their movies over the last couple of years.
Yeah, sadly so.
For sure. And I feel like they're still like paying the price for that as well. It's like nobody really trusts DC movies, despite what
Right, because
allegedly
what they,
Aquaman did.
Well, I wouldn't even say Aquaman. Aquaman was more or less fun. I think the one that really killed it was Batman vs. Superman, where they banked on the names and produced a really, really bad movie.
Oh yeah, no, I was saying that
And then
Aquaman
Justice
was
League.
sort of the way of turning things around and trying to like be like, okay, clearly the direction we're going in isn't working, and they use Aquaman to start turning the wheel in a different
They had
direction.
Aquaman and Wonder Woman that were good, and Shazam was fairly solid too.
Oh yeah,
They weren't on the level, but like Justice League wasn't good, and not by any stretch of the imagination. And really, Batman v Superman. And actually, I was really upset about that because I think like Henry Cavill, who they got for Superman, is a really good actor and could do much more than just like pointless brooding, which is not what you expect from the Man of Steel.
no, of course. And it took me to for the longest time. I was sitting there like, ugh, whatever, Henry Cavill, I don't care. And then suddenly I finished Witcher about a month ago, and now I can't get enough of the man. Holy shit, I want more Henry Cavill.
Oh yeah,
God.
no, The Witcher was a lot of fun.
So good.
I wish I could comment.
I highly enjoyed that particular series.
Oh, so good. And then like I was like 5 episodes in or whatever when I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't in the right timelines at all. This is all over the place. And I'm like, oh, okay, no, I get it now.
Yeah,
But, like the way that like everything converges, I was like, I see. So
and
good.
I also really liked him in The Man from U.N.C.L.E., actually.
I meant to see that. I really one of my an ex of mine, she really got me into the idea of the Man of U.N.C.L.E. being like a part of her fandom research and whatnot, and how the Man from U.N.C.L.E., the original show, was almost at the beginning stages of creating quote unquote what we know of as fandom nowadays. And you know, it was like, okay, well, I kind of wanted to watch the new movie coming out because of like the history and whatnot it had, having like no idea or no basis off of the television show back in the day.
I highly recommend it just without any of that context.
Right.
It's just a fun action movie, really well done, and a movie that honestly deserved the sequel that it'll probably never get.
Right.
But yeah, he was really good in that movie too. I think that's the first major thing I've seen him in for that. But
and then I hear that he played antagonist to Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible Fallout.
He was a Mission Impossible with the infamous mustache.
Right. The mustache they were contractually obligated to keep.
That helped kill Justice League.
Oh my god, I love it.
And that's an amazing bit of like movie information, really. That really is
like being able to understand that, like, no fucking studios do this. They go to war over like stupid tiny things like this.
Yes.
And I'm just like, oh man, it's crazy how these things happen.
It's insane. I completely agree. It's just really interesting to see that.
Jeez.
But hopefully there's more Witcher stuff, and I'll enjoy watching that.
Please, I want so much more Witcher stuff. Like, I have the first 2 games, but I've never even cracked them open. Witcher, I'm like, yes, I'm on board. Let's keep going. Keep it going, man. Keep it going. I want more of this.
I recommend playing the Witcher games. They're very good.
Yeah.
I probably will.
I've mostly played 3. It's a lot of fun.
Same.
Yeah.
I don't even own the first 2. I just saw one of my friends play
Yeah.
through them.
I figure I'll get the novels and read through them at some point in the near future.
Right.
Because that'll be fun.
Oh, for sure. And I'm glad that like the book is, or I'm sorry, the TV show or the Netflix show is more based off of the actual book rather than the games, because I feel like there's so much out there that is, it's like, oh yes, we made a show off this video game. We've made this movie off a video game, that like actually instead taking like the less traveled route. Well, it's still a well traveled route, but the lesser expected route. It's like, oh, you did this way. Okay, well maybe we can jive with this a little bit more. And being able to like go that way was really shocking.
I think what I'm liking about the Witcher series a little is that it kind of feels like it has little bits of like the old 90s adventure shows like Xena and Hercules in it.
Oh my god, you're right.
Where there are parts of them that are just like that sort of campy monster of the week stuff. There's that bigger plot. We'll jump to Siri and so on every once in a while. But it kind of feels like that, you know? And it's really fun to see.
God, I haven't thought of like Xena or Hercules in so long.
Oh yeah. I used to watch those back in the day.
I remember those being on for like 6 days at school, and I'm like, I don't care. It's not the animated Hercules. I'm just gonna, like, I don't care. I was like, whatever, Puzzle Place is on, whatever. I'm gonna go watch I Love Lucy or something like that.
Back when Kevin Sorbo was sane.
Oh my god. Ugh. Yikes.
But yeah, no, I used to watch those shows. So that's one of the things I was like feeling about The Witcher, is that like it has some of that vibe to it. Not a lot, and it's not always there, but just enough of it, because I do miss the old shows where you could jump in at any episode and enjoy them and know what's going on, because you know the premise.
Yeah.
It's like, here's the characters, you don't need to worry about them, just here's today's problem.
Basically, like you don't need to have seen the last 10 episodes to know what's actually going on right now.
Almost Monster of the Week-esque.
Yeah. It's striking a nice balance between that, where I've usually seen shows of late just be completely, this is a mini-series. If you haven't seen like the last 5 episodes, don't bother with this one. So it's nice. I'm definitely getting a kick out of it.
Nice. That's awesome.
Rather than like having to deal with like Walking Dead, where it's like,
yeah,
you hop in 5 episodes later, this person's dead? What?
Oh god.
Yeah, that's a show that I kind of stopped after season 1.
Same.
Yeah, I think I got like season
4.
Yeah, I think I got season 1, jumped to season 3, watched that, then 4, and then came in on some other season. That is now like 3 seasons old or something. I don't even know how long it's been. I have no idea.
It just started like really dragging after the first season.
Yeah. I don't know. I was more interested in the zombies than the drama, so the show never really got my attention to begin with.
Yeah, it was mostly a lot of dumb human things, and there's zombies around.
They're not even the driving force anymore. It's people now.
Because they're usually like in a town or a village or a prison where the zombies aren't really a danger anymore. They're just outside.
Yeah, I mean at this point they're just casual, so. It's like, oh, going off to kill some
But-
walkers. Just, okay.
Yeah.
But you know what is in danger, though, okay? We're dangerously close to getting to the end of this episode.
Holy crap, we are. Just like that, an hour has
Yes.
flown by.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, this has actually been an amazing episode.
Yes.
I really appreciate you coming on and joining us here. If you ever want to come back, always feel free to let us know. We'll be more than happy to
Absolutely.
open up the Discord and let you right on in.
Well, no, it's been a pleasure. I'd definitely be up for doing this again at some point in the future.
Nice.
Cool. Reminder for all the shout outs and whatnot, people can hit us up at for Twitter. You can hit us at the Maybe Pile. Have any questions, you could always hit us and send tweet out at or hashtag Ask the Maybe pile, and we'll have links and descriptions to everything Igor's got going on, making sure that about his website, his My Little Tie stuff. If there's anything else that we talked about in the episodes, obviously links will be in the description.
Cool.
Anything else that you want to say before we let you go here, bud?
No, not really, but it's been absolutely a lot of fun, and always happy to talk about random stuff like this.
Awesome. Yeah, like I told you before we got on, there's no really, we don't really streamline, we just go with whatever we feel like.
Cool.
And I'm glad that we were able to streamline and just barrel down this anime tract with you. Well, cool. Well, keep an eye out for us, guys. We'll be back with another episode soon. Make sure that you guys get subscribed and whatnot to make sure you don't miss out on all that. Kay, why don't you go ahead and say goodnight?
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye, guys.
Bye.